story of Anika. I'll tell you more about myself. So I'm a rising senior at Syracuse University studying social justice, education, and disability studies. And this idea of writing a children's book actually came to me in 2012 when I first learned about Marlene Matlin, which is actually really late if you want to work in like disability work, social justice. So it was just in 2012 I learned about her, but she's amazing. I'm so happy I did. And so I was watching The Apprentice. I saw the work that she was doing. And then later that year, Switch That Birth came on ABC Family, which, if you don't know, is an amazing show, and it highlights a lot about diversability actually. And so I was introduced to deaf culture first before I explored more about disability culture. And so I would say that I owe a lot to deaf culture and the people who are deaf and hard of hearing. Because as I learned about them, I also learned more about myself and my own culture. So when you guys were introducing yourselves, I heard you guys mention a lot about culture and a lot specifically about deaf culture and hard of hearing. And so that's the two, they're very separate, seemingly separate, and so I tried to bridge those in my first children's book. So I am a firstborn American. My entire family's Jamaican. I'm the only one here in America. And so Anika is actually a very common name in Caribbean culture, and it means graceful. So how surprising is it that as a hard of hearing dancer, in her book, her name means graceful. And that wasn't, that's actually just by chance. I never planned it anyway. So as I was going on marketing the book, they were like, okay, so why did you pick the name Anika? And at first I said, well, you know, it's just really common, you know, why not? And then when I looked it up, it meant graceful. So that was just like a spark of energy that I got. And so to tell you more about the book, Anika is hard of hearing. She's a young girl of color who has big, huge, obnoxious puffs, which is a signature of my niece Kai, actually. And so in the book, she wants to be the dancer in the school play, and she's ridiculed by her entire class's hearing. And so she's ridiculed by them saying, you can't be the dancer, you can't hear the music. And so throughout the book, she shows them what she can do. And so when I was writing a children's book, it's very important that you do your research. And so when I was researching in the field about books that pertain specifically to disability, there were three things that I came across. Many of these characters were not the main characters. They were aids to the person who's able-bodied, able-minded, or anything like that. So scratch it off with that, we're going to combat that in the book. The next one was, they're usually not female. Scratch that out, she's going to be female. And then on top of that, they never actually name what the disability is or the diversability is. And so on a page in the book, it's discussed what that diversability is, which is her being hard of hearing. And I specifically chose her being hard of hearing instead of deaf because in general, that's an invisible disability, right? And so that needs more attention, especially among our children, our youth, if we want to raise them to be more mindful about diversity. And so we want to also focus on that middle line, that gray area that usually just gets overlooked. You're either deaf or you're hearing. No, there's also that line where it's hard of hearing. And so throughout the book, I use it actually as a teaching tool in New York City classrooms. And so it's a 30-page picture book. I'll show you more later. It has a lesson plan, discussion questions, and also activities, because it's not just to introduce them to diversity or introduce them to disability and define it, but it's also extremely important to build character. So you don't want to just urge our youth to just look at, oh, wow, this looks so cool, and sort of why you have this word called Disneysize it, where you make things sort of like a fairy tale. And so we don't want it to be Disneysize. We don't want to just go into this realm of being a superhero. She's a real person, she exists, and she exists very much around us. And so, yes, I'm good on time. Okay. Okay. So then I do want to talk more about my career choice. So a lot of times when I talk about that I just wrote my first children's book, they say, oh, it's a hobby, that's so cool that you did that. When actually it's a career choice of mine. I do want to go into children's media. I started out in documentaries, and so I do that around my school a lot, just figuring out intersectionality. So we're college age, and a lot of times when I present about disability as a young girl of color, they say, oh, why are you interested in that? Oh, that's so cool. And they just make it like it's so separate. And so a lot of the work that I do is finding these intersectionalities and bridging these gaps, particularly with culture, because it's such a huge part of everyone. And a lot of you have actually mentioned that in like your 15 seconds when you're asked to talk about yourself. You said, well, I have this culture, you know, so clearly it's a very huge aspect of our lives. And so if we start from early on well, my book is geared towards children in kindergarten to 3rd grade. If we start from early on, it's a lot easier to And so you guys can find me at blackgirlrights.com. Yes. Okay, and then no, I don't have Twitter. I love Instagram. And that's _soul rebel _. So I spell it _SOUL